Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to learn how to play Hexplore It. So Hexplore It is a system. It's a somewhat of a hero generator system. Your purpose of the game is to build up your hero in order to take on the final boss. You do that through a series of encounters, whether they be random or you go looking for them on this map, this hex map system, which makes sense. And you're going to be gaining power-ups that you can spend in various ways to increase the stats. So that's why everything is dry erase, because you're constantly going to be erasing this number, hopefully making it higher, so on and so forth. So coming up on the channel, we're going to be playing through the Clicks Madness campaign, which they started during the last Kickstarter, or two Kickstarters ago. They decided they were going to come out with this huge, like D&D thickness campaign book for each of their chapters. And so Clicks Madness is for the first chapter, Valley of the Dead King. And then eventually here very soon, hopefully, we will be getting the Forests of Adrimon campaign. I can't remember the name of that campaign, but looks very exciting, looks even bigger and more robust than Clicks Madness. I'm very excited about these, so I wanted to play them on the channel with you guys. And I realized I did not have a how to play video for Hexplore It. I believe I actually attempted to make one with the Mirza Noctis chapter 4, and I believe something happened with my video and I ended up not being able to publish it. So this is going to serve as my how to play video for Hexplore It, because for the most part, the basics of how to play can be carried over from chapter 1 all the way to chapter 4. I believe their next Kickstarter campaign is going to be their chapter 5, so that would be a great one to dive into if this all interests you. Again, this is basically kind of leveling up your hero. That's the name of the game, and I really love those types of games. So what all are we looking at here? Well, there is a map that is a hex-based map system, and these are my starting tiles. I actually could twist and turn these around in any way I want. I could have them all in a line. It doesn't matter. This worked well for my setup here on camera, and then we have a whole bunch of other tiles that are just randomly mixed up here and put in a pile, very similar to like Mage Knight. On our turn, we are going to be moving across this map. And when we end our movement, if we're kind of out here in the middle of nowhere, we're going to roll a die and have a random circumstance happen to us. If, however, we've made it onto a specific point of interest, that's going to trigger an event. Now that event may be something like a boss battle, or it may be we've made it in this theme, it's an enthralled city where we can trade and heal possibly and do other things. Or you'll see tokens like this here where these events, which are very important, these are destination cards, are very important for pushing the narrative of this particular game. So in this game, the Magi Adrimon is trying to take over the forest, and she's mind numbing all of the people in the cities and things like that, and she's trying to sweep over. And the only way to even do damage to her is with these relics. So here's like Jormund's shield, and you can see it kind of looks ghostly and broken in that picture, or Starfire ring here, or figurine of power, or Arcaven's staff, and there's even a couple more here that may or may not come out. But there's also this stack of relic shards or pieces that when we come to these destinations, we'll find some, and hopefully we'll be able to put some of these together. This is one of the themes that makes me love this chapter most of all, is the kind of piecing together these shards, these magical things that will give you the power to then take on Adrimon. So on our turn, we will basically move around. If we make it to the edge of a map, we can just add on a new tile and continue to expand in whatever direction we want. And then we handle essentially the event for that turn. There's also some skill dice that we're going to have to roll to determine whether we get lost, whether we find anything, and whether we are able to eat. And I'm going to cover all that here in a short while. And then there's always a villain turn at the end where they're advancing their schemes and pushing you, it's a timer essentially. So In the Forests of Adrimon, we already talked about how we are trying to locate all of the pieces of these relics in order to take on Adrimon. This is where she is located. In some of the games, it's a little figurine that represents the bad guy. In this one, we have a figurine which represents us, which is just this elven figurine. And you always travel as a group. Even if you play this multiplayer, it's a cooperative game, and you always travel together, take on the same boss. There's no splitting up. So there's only ever one miniature in each box. And this one, the bad guy villain miniature, happens to be this whole area here, this setup, Acropolis, I believe it's called. And then we have our Fey realm over here, which we can get to whether or not certain cards are present, things like that. But we can kind of transport in here, magically transport into here, and then walk into the middle here of the Fey realm and get extra healing, get bonus stuff, things like that. There's also this fate die that we might have to roll at any particular time. There's a lot of dice rolling in this game. So let's get started with what we see on our board here. So this is our roll. So in this roll, we're a sapper, which means we deal a lot in energy. We attack, but we're better at attacking people's energy than their health. And we're a solipsist. And our little catch line here, sweet dreams are made by me. So my name is Lennox. If you get that, good for you. And we have some basic statistics here that we got. Here's our picture here. I love the puma. But anyways, we have basically a basic attack, a basic defense. We have 2 special skills, essentially. They're called masteries. We have our vitals. I don't start with very much health, but I start with a ton of energy. And then we have our 3 skills down here, navigating, exploring, and survival. We'll have to roll on these each turn. And we also have a food rating that I got from my race card. So I am a fairy solipsist. All right, and luckily fairies don't need to eat, I guess. So this also gave me some additional boosts in various spots. It gives me a special ability that I can use once per turn. And then depending on the modes you're playing, I'm playing on kind of a more, not necessarily easy mode, but it's called a double up mode, where they give you extra boosts at the beginning to help you get through the game faster. It makes for just faster gameplay, because if you start from scratch, this can be a rather long game. So I prefer to play the quick style and not have things drag on very long. So you'll see I've got some stuff here. I've got some extra stuff in my backpack. And that is kind of how you start the game, by choosing your role and your race, filling out your board here. We have our battle mat that is set up for us to write down health and energy of whoever we're attacking. We'll keep track of ours. So I've got, several dry erase markers here with good erasers, things like that. Lots of dry erase. Lots of dice rolling. So we have a dice tower to keep everything in check. On our turn, and this kind of 4 or 5 step process has carried over thus far through all 4 chapters of Hexplore It. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to choose how you're going to move. So the movement phase, you get to choose from essentially 4 decisions. Are you going to camp? That's the first choice, which means you're not going to move at all, but it gives you an opportunity to heal. And it's going to make, you're obviously not going to navigate. You don't even have to roll that die if you don't want to, but it's going to give you a bonus for rolling on your explore and survival. However, most of the time you're going to want to move. So are you going to want to move cautiously, normally, or recklessly? Cautiously means you are either moving your movement value, but you're following a road, or in this case, a river. So you could be floating down the river on a raft, or you could just be traveling by horse along the road. Your normal movement to start the game is 4. So you could move 1, 2, 3, 4 along the road, or you can move any direction into the woods, but only move 1 hex. That's moving cautiously. When you move cautiously, again, you're not going to get lost, so you don't have to worry about your navigate skill. And also, whatever circumstance you come up with, if you move cautiously into an area where you're getting a random circumstance, you can choose to discard it. You don't have to take it on. So imagine you sneaking up on the mind wipe soldiers up there. I know you guys can't read all those cards, but that could be one, or the giant fox. Maybe you sneak up on the giant fox since you're moving cautiously, and you can choose to just go around the giant fox, or you can choose to take it on. You don't get any bonuses, though, to the other 2 rolls. If you move normally, you are essentially moving your 4 hexes in any direction. You have to roll your navigate die at this point during the skill check. And you have to roll the other ones. There's no bonuses or anything like that. If you fail your navigate roll, wherever you attempted to end up, so say I attempt to go and fight this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, say I'm right here, or my normal movement is 5. I found some boots or something, and my 4 would put me here, but then I fail my navigate roll. I have to roll this hex die here, and that's where this comes in. Depending on the number on this 6-sided hex, the hex die, I could wander, and so I could end up like over here. So you're basically getting lost. So it's important, especially early on, until you boost your navigate skill, to move cautiously or be prepared to get lost often. And then there's reckless. Reckless allows you to give you 2 more points of movement. So again, there are ways for you to increase your movement. So they just say gives you 2 more. And then each hero is going to suffer some energy drain, and you're going to have to you're going to end up failing for certain, either explore or survival, because you're rushing. So you're not going to find any gold exploring, and you may not have time to eat, but you do have to roll for navigate because you could get lost. It all makes very thematic sense. And easily this is one of the most confusing things to come up with, or to wrap your head around, is this type of movement. But once you figure it out, it, again, makes a whole ton of sense. Once you've decided on your movement, and again, we're all moving as a group. I'm playing solo, so it doesn't matter. This is my person, and we're just going to go from there. After you've completed your movement, you then have to roll your skill dice, and that's these 3 down here. You can see skills, and I have a 3 navigate, 3 explore, and a 1 survival. Well, ideally, you want these numbers to be as high as possible. And when you're rolling in this game, most of the time, you want to roll as low as possible, because you have to hit below this number to succeed. So just wrap your head around that. Every time you roll skills or you roll masteries or things like that, you almost always are attempting to hit below your target. In this case, my target is 3, 3, and 1. They give you 3 dice of the various colors, so I can roll them all 3 at the same time and keep up with them. So ideally, I would want to get navigate up to, this is a D10 here, or no, a D12, right? Oh, it's a D10 because the hex is 1. So the hex is 1, there's 10, everything else in between. Ideally, I get this up to 10, and then I will never fail a navigate roll. If you roll a 1, or if you roll a 10, however, you're always going to fail. A 10 is always fail, and a 1 is a critical success. So in this case, we would roll these 3 out, and we would check them out. So a 7, I failed my survival. A 6, I failed my explore. And a 4, I just barely failed my navigate. So in this instance, if I were to have traveled normally, I would have wandered. So I would have rolled this die here, and I would have wandered off in that direction. I would have not found any gold. And since I failed my survival check, I would have to consume food. I'm carrying food, but ideally I would live off the land. I would find some berries or hunt some small animal and kill it. But I failed my survival, so I would have to consume food. Luckily, my food rating is 0. Most of the time this number is 1, 2, or 3. That's one of the biggest reasons why I picked fairy, was because it had a food rating of 0, and I love not having to worry about food. It's just one less thing. But for most people, your food rating would be, say, 2. You would have to come over here and dry erase 2 from this line, which represents your food, and you move on. If you don't have any food, though, you begin to starve. We're not going to get into that. Hopefully that doesn't ever happen to anybody. After you have rolled your skill dice out and dealt with that, if you are rolling critical successes, hexes, and as you go up above 10 on any of these, you can hit a critical success on then a 2 and then a 3, depending on how high this number is. But once you've moved, if you again are in the wilds, you're going to roll this puppy here, the D6 hex die, and it's going to tell you which random encounter. Now, some of these are good, like this one is a treasure. We would actually want to come across this one, or this one here is an affliction. This just means sometimes it gives you a skill check you can attempt if you pass, but this one is numbed. The air is heavy and thick. It gives you a little stuff, but it's going to give you an affliction that you have to deal with for a certain number of turns. Or then there are cards like these, which are encounters, creatures, something you're going to have to fight. We'll get into fighting here in just a minute. That again is if you're off in the middle of nowhere. If, however, you are at a specific destination, you're going to look to see where that is. Are you at a boss encounter? You're going to roll on the boss table and determine which boss you're going to fight. Or have you come to an enthralled city? And they have, all the Hexplore games have a ton of these nice placards that are dry erase, the same thing. So here's game turns, here's a outlook on the sentinels, but here's the enthralled cities. So if you came into the enthralled cities, you would just follow this top to bottom. It tells you what you can buy. Good to go. If you come across a sentinel out in the wild, you would come across this and it gives you all their stats. If you make it into Elwyn's Grove, it gives you all of this stuff and all the stuff you can buy. Or battle sites, it gives you all of that stuff. Wayposts. I don't think there's any wayposts out in the beginning, but very handy. You basically just either look to these, or if it's a destination token, you're going to look to this card. So if we went to, let me see, let's just look at this one here, for example. This one tells us in the upper right corner that it's on A, and I can see that this is tile A right here, and it's up in this upper left hand corner. So that's actually it right there. So if I came across that one, I would just reference which card I need to do, and this would be my challenge. It looks like a little challenge: escort the Briarkin to Elwyn's Grove, blah blah blah. He's got some health and he's got a little bit of attack, and this is what I get if I complete that. So I would take on an escort in this case, and so on and so forth. So there's other ones like this that's going to be a blue skill check, green skill check, all 3 skill checks, things like that. So you either have a circumstance or an event, and that's it. That is your turn. Very simple, very straightforward. Again, there's a lot of text on these. There's a lot of reading. This game is not, for children or anything like that. It's not super simple, but it's very straightforward. After that, you would have the villain turn. In this particular chapter, Forests of Adrimon, the villain turn is incredibly easy. You simply increase the fate tracker, which is over here, and every time it hits 6, you increase the larger number in the middle, and every time you complete a cycle, one of these sentinels comes out. So he would come out, and he comes out, I believe, in the enthralled cities. I'll have to look that up. But anyways, these things come out and they just move around the board and make life more difficult for you. And that's it. Super simple for them. If you don't keep your skills up above whatever the fate level is, you go numb. So her powers, magical powers, have reached you. So that's another thing to push over. But other than that, she's very simple. Valley of the Dead King. The Dead King is actually moving around the map. In Mirza Noctis, you're having to roll a moon die. I think that's a D12 before the turn, I think I remember it being. And it messes with your turn. It gives you circumstances for that particular turn, things like that. So all of the themes are very interesting. Again, there's 4 chapters with a 5th one coming out, and I believe they have plans of doing the campaign books for each one of the chapters. So we have Click's Madness. We're going to be covering that soon here on the channel. And then I can't remember what the Forests of Adrimon was called, but I backed it. It'll be coming here sometime in Q4 very, very soon. All right. Really, the only other thing we need to discuss, I feel like, without having seen the game in action, and we'll show off more of the game when we start playing the campaign, is the battle mat here and taking on an encounter. And this is again very simple. So let's just take the giant fox here, for example. Now, not everything is just a plain card like this. You have a lot more here. If I dig over into my box here, this would be like one of the bosses or mini bosses. Really beefy fellows that come with their own placard. So don't feel like this game has no fun art to look at. There's Adrimon herself, the Magi. So that's the final boss. Here you can see if you defeat Adrimon, read the storybook entry on page 6. Here's Urgos, the bear. Well, those are all like stuck in there. But anyways, I'm just going to use this as an example to make life a little easier on us as we talk about a battle. So the first thing I would do upon starting this encounter would be to write down the creature's health and energy. In this case, they don't have a soul shield. If they did, I would write that number here in the middle, and I would have to take out the shield before I could do any damage to them. Now, at the beginning of my turn, or at the beginning of every battle round, I need to determine how I'm going to attack the giant fox. Am I just going to go at it with my basic attack? In that case, I can either attack its energy or its health. That's what these two little tiny symbols are. And I would just be doing 3 damage to it. I don't need to roll for anything like that. It's pretty straightforward. So I would simply write right here, -3, say if I was going right after his health. Or I could choose to use a mastery. Now, each mastery is different for each roll, and they're all described right here. There's a lot of text there. I'm not going to go into how every single mastery works because they're all a little different. But I feel like it's a lot of fun to read through these and to get to understand them and know how to use them. So in this case, I probably might even use Sandman here, maybe. I haven't read through all of this completely. But depending on, you would determine how much damage you're going to do. Maybe you're damaging its energy. And then you're going to roll the hex die to see what it does before you actually damage any energy. So in this case, he rolled a 4. So he's using his first mastery, which is this purple one. And this says triple target energy. That's telling us if I had 3 people in the game, it would target, or more, it would target 3 of them. And then it's targeting my energy, which is this number here. It's not actually targeting my health. The giant fox negates the highest damaging attack against it this round. So boom, it's blocking this one, and it's doing 3 damage to my energy. So I would actually have to erase this. Once you have kind of determined what they're doing and what you're doing, everything happens simultaneously. So I would erase my numbers and update them. I would erase his numbers and update them. If he's still alive, then we go into another round. If you, and in this case, since he's doing this one, he would actually, this little fist with a 2 next to it means he's spending 2 energy. So even though he got to wipe out mine, he's down to just 3 energy. And since I used just my standard attack, I didn't use any. But if I wanted to use Sandman, that costs 1. Dream Eater costs 1. It might cost a little bit more if I have increased those masteries to certain levels where I can do other things. So I would also have to adjust my energy as well. If, say, I had attacked his energy, so let's see, maybe I attacked his energy for 4, and he used his 2, he's now down to -1. He's done. He's out of energy. I could just do this and just erase it all. He's got no energy left, full health. Well, what that means now is that if he were to roll a, did I do it? No. But if he were to roll a 4 or a 5 again, he's got no energy. He basically whiffs on this attack right here. So that's why people like sappers are worth something, because if you take away the creature's energy, they cannot use their special attacks. If you rolled a 1 through a 3, he's doing his basic attack just like I would. There are also certain bosses and creatures that if you whittle down just their energy, you have defeated them. And there are creatures that you can influence. I'm not going to get into that, but essentially you can influence them, bring them over to your side, and you get a different type of reward for influencing them. But you don't actually kill them, and that could, come back to change things in the future. In this case, though, we would get a reward of 2 gold and 2 food. Not helping us much. We're looking ideally for relic cards or power-up cards. Power-up cards are very straightforward. Here's just an example of one. +1, pick 3. So your choice, distribute this bonus between any 3 stats. So boom, 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 boom. I would get to increase any one of these numbers, any 3 of these numbers by 1. Usually they're not that good. That's a really good one. So here, for example, is this one +1 to explore. Just very simple. Boom. We've upgraded that stat. So those are the 2 best, at least in this version of the game. Power-up cards and relic cards are ideally what we're looking for. But there you go. Once we've defeated the giant fox, this card would be discarded and we'd bring a new one out into that slot. And that is it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff on the battle mat that you can use. Things like group purchases, how many workshops have you unlocked, relic requirements, favors of the treant or whatever it is here, the gods. It's the fate tracker on this one. So each battle mat for each different chapter of Hexplore It is unique. Pretty sure for nature's essence here, you can keep account of the seeds and stuff you can get, that kind of stuff. But that, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully covers how to play Hexplore It. You can take the basics of battle, of the 5 steps of a turn, movement, skill, I guess it's really 4, circumstance and or event, and then villain phase. And if you know that, you can sit down and play any of the 4 chapters up to this point. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And if you are interested in the Clicks Madness campaign and you have any suggestions as to the race, the role, whether I should use aspects from the hero chest, names of characters, anything like that, feel free to let me know. I always struggle to come up with names and to choose a character and things like that. So happy for some suggestions. Other than that, once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.